So how did the electric bicycle, or e-bike as I'm going to refer to them from now on, become so popular? 10 years ago, I only knew a handful of people that rode these heavy, cumbersome beasts, but now it seems like every other person you meet on the trail has an electrified bicycle. I want to know, not necessarily the full in-depth history of electric bikes dating all the way back to the late 1800s, but rather, I'm looking to answer how they became such a staple within the cycling community. And please, if you do enjoy these history, cycling related contents, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all of that. It genuinely helps the channel, and I appreciate each and every one of you. As you all know, I am not a cycling expert. I have just been in the industry for like 15 years. I race a lot, and I'm extremely inquisitive. So I started doing these historical videos. You all like them, so let's just continue this. Many people, like myself, had no idea that e-bikes actually got their start way back in the late 1800s with designs not too dissimilar to the ones that we see today, minus the pedal assistance portion. They were all throttle based. They even had hub drive motors and they had mid drive motors, which kind of blew my mind because that's the staple of the modern e-bike design. E-bikes were being designed around the same time as the first motorcycle, with the motorcycle being the clear winner and electrified bicycles being put on the back burner of the design world. Fast forward all the way until 1990, and we get the first true innovation in electric bicycles, pedal assist. So think about that. Before 1990, there was no such thing as pedal assist. If it was an electric bicycle, it had a throttle. Michael Cooter. Michael Cooter? We're gonna go with Michael Cooter here. This guy invented the first pedal assist electric bicycle, and he called it the pedelec, which stands for pedal electric cycle. This means that essentially you pedaling is the throttle. You have to be pedaling and then the motor will kick on and assist you. This makes it feel much more like an electric bicycle and less like a motorcycle. Most of these models didn't even have throttles on them as an option. You had to pedal this thing. I got it. Interesting side note, according to the European regulations, e-bikes and pedelecs are two completely separate things, even though we currently throw everything under the blanket term of e-bike nowadays. This is where the turning point for e-bikes happened. What that basically means is pedelec is a completely separate category, and electric bicycle would be more considered like an electric moped, you know. Pedelec is what we are accustomed to, what we call e-bikes. But this is where the turning point for e-bikes happened. The most important thing about pedelecs or e-bikes are if they are classified as a bicycle or not. This way they can be ridden on certain trails and not be hindered by the regulations of a motorcycle, for lack of a better term. The pedelec or pedal assist started taking the market by storm since they were still considered a bicycle under many regulatory bodies, and they became a staple of the transportation market in many European companies. So first big innovation in like 100 years, pedal assist. That's the start. Moving up to 1997, this is where things get even more interesting. Montague is the first officially branded electric mountain bike that came out in 1997 and was developed with a grant from DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. As the research arm of the US Department of Defense, they were seeking a way to move military troops and equipment without the heat or noise signatures of a combustion engine, and Montague won the grant to develop the Tactical Electric No Signature, the TENS mountain bike. Now, Montague worked with Curry to develop this mountain bike, and even though this was potentially the first e-mountain bike, it really wasn't the first to take off as we know it. The next more modern iteration of the electric mountain bike came from none other than Hi-Bike all the way in 2010, 13 years after the Montague beast. Now, I'll be honest, I thought of Hi-Bike as some crummy brand I've never really heard that much of until researching this video and learning that they were one of the first to really embrace the e-mountain bike mantra. Now, 2010 was just the start of this mountain bike revolution, but why exactly did it take 13 years until one of the first modern, as we know it, e-bikes were mass produced. Honestly, in my opinion, we had to wait for mountain bike technology to play catch up. I mean, just think, 1997 was the first official e-mountain bike, and 1981 was when the first mass-produced mountain bike was ever created. Mountain biking was barely 20 years old when the first electrified pedal assist version came out. And honestly, the mountain bikes of the late 90s and on into the 2000s, the early 2000s I'll say, had components hung on them that were simply modified road bike components. The frames were beefy enough, but everything else was, at least compared to today's robust mountain bike components, just fragile. There was no clutches in the derailleurs. There was not really one-bys at that point. They're still kind of figuring out the brakes, still had rim brakes for the most part. Now, take all of that antiquated technology, slap a heavy battery and motor on the bike, and you have a recipe for a terrible time on the trail. To me, this story is all about closing the gap between electric motorcycle and the pedal bicycle. The smaller the gap becomes, the more popular the electric mountain bike seems to get. After high bikes, what I'm going to call the first modern iteration of a sport e-bike, the market started to skyrocket, and with all the manufacturers coming out with their versions of an electric bike designed for recreational activities and not just for commuting. You had all of the big hitters coming out with their own electric motor: Bosch, Yamaha, Shimano, and many more. So the next piece of the puzzle that had to happen was cost, which inevitably does come down at the time. What started as something that was kind of a premier expensive product for baseline, like now you can get a full suspension e-mountain bike like the Stancy from Giant starting relatively inexpensive. And these come with lifetime warranties on the frame, uses Yamaha powered motors, and are actually quite fun to ride. So now, the industry has all the pieces of the puzzle there for the popularity of electric bikes just to soar. The technology is there, the cost is there, the demand is there. But the last thing I'd like to know is the mentality behind the consumer that wants an e-bike. Like, what drove the demand for this product in the first place? And I don't mean this in a derogatory way, I'm just genuinely curious. Why were electric motorcycles with a throttle so unpopular, but electric pedal assist bicycles are extremely popular? In my opinion, once the bicycles became a little bit more affordable, it comes down to allowing people to do things that they were never able to do before. Look, the majority of the population is not David Goggins.
Stay hard!
Most people that ride bicycles never even line up to race. They mainly ride mountain bikes because they enjoy it and it is a fun way to exercise. To me, an e-bike allows you to ride trail you would never have the fitness to before, and it allows you to ride with people you never thought you would be able to ride with. People that get butthurt that someone can keep up with them when they are on an e-bike have too big of an ego, in my opinion. I love it whenever someone is on an electric bicycle trying to chase me down. It pushes me, makes me go faster, and it's always fun having someone chase you. And what I mean by a lot of this is, like, I have friends that for whatever reason think that I'm some like international pro that they cannot ride with because they're gonna hamper my training, and I ride bicycles because I love riding bicycles. I train and I race for other reasons. I do enjoy that as well, but if I just want to go ride a bicycle, I want to ride a bicycle with you. Those people, like let's say I'm gonna go on a 30-mile mountain bike ride, not happening. They do not want anything to do with the bike ride that long. But when you put them on an e-bike and they can actually keep up with somebody, it is much more enjoyable for them than just to be slobbering the entire time. You get what I mean? Not everything in sport is just about training and suffering like a dog. That's why I think these e-bikes became so popular, and that's why the more that they get popular, the more the group dynamic changes.
I'm coming. Like the Terminator. It might be a robot, but I'm coming.
Some of the biggest negatives that I do see with e-bikes though, I honestly think the whole like over 20 mile an hour thing can completely disappear. If you look at my local trail, for instance, when a really good pro rider comes out and they are hammering those trails, man, they're averaging 15 miles an hour. So why in the world would somebody that does not have the skill level need to be on an electric bike that goes 20 plus miles an hour when professional riders can't even do that? So in my opinion, I think the e-bike can be dumbed down a little bit, and I think it seems to be trending that way. E-bikes 5 years ago, it was all about bigger motor, bigger torque, bigger battery, which resulted in heavier bikes. Now you see stuff like the brand new Trance or the Orbea Rise, where you have batteries that last a long time, but the torque is very, very nominal. It does not have as much torque as these other brands, but the bikes are light. The bikes are like sub 40 pounds for an electric mountain bike. So that gap between bicycle and electric motorized vehicle is just inching closer to where when you get on one of these things, it's just gonna feel like you're on steroids. It's not gonna actually feel like you're on a motorcycle. The only thing that I worry about is when people get on these things that have high torque and can go 28 miles an hour and it's a mountain bike, is people get hurt. Because I know people that have had no background riding like dirt bikes or anything off-road like that. They've just ridden mountain bikes, they get an e-bike like that, and then all of a sudden they're averaging 12 plus miles an hour, and then when you crash at those speeds, it hurts. That's about my only negative. That's something I think the industry is still trying to figure out. In summary, it took about 100 years from the first electric bicycle to get pedal assist. Pedal assist was key to making it a bicycle. That was the number one thing. The next big jump was, I would say, I think it's interesting that Montague made the first electric mountain bike, but it was not, when I say a sport electric mountain bike, the high bike was kind of the first one where it was not designed for commuting or a grocery getter. This was designed for you to take out, ride mountain bike trails, and have fun on. It's for a sport. It is not for transportation. That was big, and that was 2010. That was only 13 years ago, and it took a few years for it to take off from there. But by 2015, these things were catching like wildfire. It was just a matter of time before cost came down. And from everyone that I ask, and I've asked a lot of people, the reason they get e-bikes is because it does allow them to do things that they wouldn't either A, have time to do, or fitness. I do hope that that shed a little light into the history of the modern electric sport bicycle that we know today. And again, the why portion is just my opinion, but I would love to know your guys' opinion. And if you have an e-bike, please leave a comment below and let me know why you decided to purchase an e-bike over a standard bicycle. I'm super curious and I would love to know that. There you have it. That's what I got for you guys today. Hope it was interesting, and I will see you in the next one. Love you. Bye-bye.